Welcome back, everybody. This is the thejonnymar, and I am continuing with Final Fantasy III for the PSP. So in between episodes, I got up to level 52, and I also did a little bit of shopping, and that was to grab a couple of extra white magic spells in case I ever decide to change one of my party members over into a sage for a few of the possible upcoming boss battles. Now what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to do our first run through Eureka. And I say first because we are going to do a couple of them. So I'm going to meet you over at Eureka, but in the meantime, if I do happen to encounter the super enemy, the Behemoth King, in the Ancient's Maze, I will show that battle off. So I will see you in a little bit. Well, looky here. We found ourselves a King Behemoth, or a Behemoth King. So I found that it's a little easier to find this guy in the final room area before the Crystal Tower of the Ancient's Maze. It's the area where you got the Holy Lance. So the King Behemoth is pretty powerful. It has around 45,000 hit points, and it can do some pretty nasty attacks. Now its physical attack is not really that much to worry about. It only does about 500 to 700 damage, and it can attack multiple times per turn. What's dangerous about the Behemoth King, or King Behemoth, is that it can actually cast a Meteor. The Meteor is a very powerful spell that can do around 1,000 points plus of damage to your entire party. So you want to be very careful about that potential attack. So you may notice that my ninja is already in pretty rough shape. But fortunately, I am going to be curing with my Devout every turn to try to keep everyone as high as possible, so that if the Behemoth does cast Meteor, I'll be in a position where it doesn't immediately wipe me out. But in general, you're going to use the same strategies we've been using before, and that is jumping with the Dragoon if you have it, and physical attacks with any physical attackers. If you're using a Black Mage, just use your highest level magic spells that do the most damage. And if you do happen to have a thief in your party, the King Behemoth is the only other enemy in the game besides Odin that has a decent steal. Oh no, here comes Meteor. Didn't do that much damage. Not as much as I expected. Maybe I oversold it a little bit. But yes, the King Behemoth has a Protect Ring as a steal item. So you can steal from the King Behemoth to get more Protect Rings if that thing is something that you want, if you're using a lot of mages. But down goes the King Behemoth. So now I will meet you at the Crystal Tower as we head towards Eureka. Alright, so we're going to head into the Crystal Tower and we're going to head down to the optional area of Eureka yet again. You may remember in my last episode we opened up the door to Eureka, and that allowed us to get the Ultima weapon from the legendary Smith. Well, this time we're going to do a run through the dungeon and actually grab some of the chests. Now there are a lot of chests in Eureka to pick up, and there are shops at the end of Eureka. So I'm going to be grabbing all of the chests that have items in them, except the ones that are trapped. So some of the items in Eureka are actually trapped and are hidden behind a boss encounter. So you want to be very careful about those. And I'm actually not going to be taking on those encounters in this particular episode. I will do the one trap chest that does have an encounter in it, because I want the item quite a bit for my Devout. But all of the special items that you can pick up in Eureka and that are required if you want to go to the special dungeon that is optional, the, I guess, final optional area for this game, you are going to have to acquire all of those special weapons. And I'll be doing that in my next episode. Basically, I want to do the run through Eureka, do all of my shopping, teleport out, save, and then we'll come back down and kill all of the sub-bosses to get the weapons. Now again, when people talk about how crazy the final dungeon area is of Final Fantasy III, I think they mean Eureka plus the Crystal Tower, because it's a lot of content. If you do all of this content in one go, you're talking about probably 2 hours worth of content to do Eureka and then follow up with the Crystal Tower. But really, you can kind of do these short dives into the dungeon, clear out a couple floors, exit with the teleport spell, and then save, and then go back in after healing. So although it is still very annoying that there isn't a save point in the final dungeon area, it's not as bad of a thing, I think, as some people make it out. Now, the most annoying aspect about this final dungeon area is not really the Eureka aspect of it, but it's actually the Crystal Tower. So we'll get to that, and I'll talk more about that when we actually start to climb the Crystal Tower. What I like about Eureka is kind of the aesthetic of the locale. It always reminded me of Bahamut's Cave on the moon from Final Fantasy IV. Kind of has that spacey look to it, that cavey look, obviously, with the crystals, and so it always made me kind of think of that. And I did play Final Fantasy IV well before Final Fantasy III, even though chronologically, 3 came out first. 4 came out first in the United States. But this is our trap chest. So this chest actually has a sub-boss in it, the ninja, and he is guarding the ribbon item. So we are going to open the chest up and take him on, because we want the ribbon. Now the ribbon is pretty much the best headgear in the game, and it can be equipped by basically every class. And what it does is it gives you a pretty good boost to defense as well as magic defense, and protects you from every ailment in the game. Now in the original version, the Famicom version, it actually protected you from elemental attacks, not necessarily ailments. So that was changed in this version, I guess to make it more consistent with the other Final Fantasies, where it tends to be that item that you always equip to protect yourself from enemy ailments. Now the ninja can attack multiple times. It also can inflict you with poison, so you want to be aware of that. It's not a huge deal. This guy will go down pretty quickly, and so it's not a super difficult boss. It's not one I'm really worried about wiping to. And because I want the ribbon, I am willing to take him out pretty early on in this dungeon to get the benefit from him. So there we go. He is down, and we will get the ribbon item. And I will throw that on my Devout, because I want her to basically be as protected as possible. Now she can't be inflicted with any ailment, and she has a pretty good boost to her defense and magic defense. You can actually get pretty much ribbons for everybody. There are chests in the Crystal Tower that actually will allow you to pick up more ribbons, so we will get more of them as the game progresses and as we begin the final push towards the end of the game. We are in that final stretch. We're not quite there, but we're getting very close. So again, you can equip it on pretty much every party and get the benefits from it, but I am going to put it on my Devout because I want her to have the protection, and it is the biggest upgrade over her existing helm. So we have a few more floors then in Eureka to take on. Again, we're going to be skipping all of the special weapons. I'll show them off, kind of what they look like, but we're not actually going to take on the sub-bosses in this episode. Next time, in my next episode, we'll actually go through and clear out all of those sub-bosses. They're not too bad, depending on, again, your level and when you're trying to take them on. So I'm going to burn through them pretty quickly, but I do want to minimize any backtracking that I might have to do if, again, I happen to have some chaotic, unexpected wipe of my party where everyone gets killed very quickly. Now, in terms of the other items available in Eureka, you have things like elixirs, Phoenix Downs, the magic items that you can use in battle, those sorts of things. And we also pick up some shurikens, which are always appreciated. We will be making liberal use of those in the final boss encounters, especially against the final boss of the main game. But we are now starting to get very close to the special weapons. I think they're right here. So we have the first special weapon, the Moonring Blade. We will be skipping that and moving on to the next floor. And then on the next floor we have another weapon, which is the Masamune, or the Masamune, or the Masamune, the Masamune, however you want to pronounce it. So that's the ultimate weapon for the ninja. And over here we kind of have a chest on a pedestal, which is interesting. Maybe they originally were gonna make this a trapped chest, but decided against it. But you do get the Omni Rod, which again is a pretty powerful rod weapon for a Magus or a Black Mage. But no boss encounter required. And then there's one more chest on this floor before we head to the next one. And that is actually another Phoenix Down. So stocking up on those Phoenix Downs as we progress towards some of the more difficult encounters in the game. The next floor only has one weapon on it, and that is the Excalibur, which is guarded by a fairly difficult boss. And I'm a little disappointed in how they redid it. I know they wanted it to be consistent with the other weapons, but in the Famicom version, it looked like it was kind of thrust into the rock, kind of like in the legend of, you know, having to pull a sword out of the rock. But in here, it's floating above the rock, so again, more consistent with how the other ones are presented. And this last floor has the final two weapons. Before we look at those weapons, let's take on another unique encounter here. Another palette swap of the Titan enemy. So we'll take him out fast, as you might expect. Not too much to worry about. And we're getting very close to the end of Eureka. You'll notice the teleporter there. So we'll be skipping the Elder Staff. We'll be back for that. And also the Ragnarok. But again, we'll pick up all of these special weapons in my next episode, when we do essentially a Eureka boss gauntlet. So when you take the final teleporter, it takes you to the shop area of Eureka. So there is a healing pool, and I don't know if it's a reviving pool or a status pool, one or the other. I think it's a reviving pool. But there are 4 chests, and then there are 2 dealers here that sell magic. Then there's one hidden merchant. So we don't need the revival pool. We could use the heal though, so we might as well get that. And then the magic seller sells the level 8 magic, which is the strongest magic in the game. And also, if you have defeated them, they sell the high-level summon spells as well. So if you want to pick up an additional copy of those for another character, you can do that. But we're going to pick up one of each of the level 8 spells, even though I really don't use them much. I do use Arise, that is certainly helpful, but the other ones, not so much. So we did want 2 copies of Arise, so that if we do go with a Sage, we have multiple people who can use it, and then just 1 copy of all the other magic. And then the hidden shop merchant is actually through a secret path to the right of this particular area. And they're going to sell crystal equipment. So you have a decision here. We've already picked up some crystal equipment in the Ancient's Maze, and there's actually another set of it available in the Crystal Tower, as you might expect by the name. But you can also purchase as many copies of the equipment as you want from the hidden merchant here in Eureka. So if you are planning on using multiple armored characters, classes such as the Viking or the Dark Knight or multiple knights or dragoons, then that might be worthwhile to pick up. But otherwise, other gear such as the Fumagarb for the ninja and other similar classes can also be worthwhile. The other weapons of note are the Apollo Harp, the ultimate harp for the Bard, and the Shurikens. So you are going to want to max out, if you're going to be using a ninja, on as many Shurikens as possible. And I'm actually going to be making a trip down here multiple times to get more Shurikens after doing some level grinding. Because we are not done level grinding, oh no, we have much more to do before the end of the game. But that is it for this episode. In the next one, I will head through Eureka yet again and take on all of those boss encounters. So as always, viewers, thank you for the continued support. I truly do appreciate it, and I'll see you all in my next episode. So long. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please press like and leave a comment below. Please also subscribe to my channel and press the notification bell. See you next time.